All right, we're live. Welcome. This is a very important topic. We're going to talk about self loathing biracial people. And let's get into it. What's up, Tragic?
What's up? What's up with y'all?
So, this is a very important topic. And first of all, we're going to talk about what is self hate. Like, what does it mean to hate yourself? And I seen this. You can't tell me this is not what biracial people go through. When we deal with invalidation, we deal with imperfectionism, being a people pleaser, trauma, shame, trying to mold our behavior and all that, and trying to our environment, because we're raised up in predominantly monoracial environments that lead to the invalidation and leads to all these things, depression, lack of understanding. So this is what leads to self-loathing. And you can't tell me we don't deal with all these things just because we deal with these just because for being biracial and being mixed race. So what's your opinion about self-hate and what's the cause of it and stuff like that?
Mm. I think we should talk about this diagram real quick. Hold up. Give me a second. Hello?
I'm back. Oh yeah, go ahead and talk about it.
Damn, we might as well just start over. All right, just start from here. You
No,
good?
go ahead. Yeah,
All
we're
right.
good. Go ahead.
Um, damn, this is deep. I don't even know where to start. What causes self? This is what causes it.
This is what causes loathing. What's your experience with
I,
like
I agree with
biracial people?
all
Yeah.
nine things is I agree with all of it. Like the first one, invalidation.
Hmm.
We getting if you going, it's proof, it's evidence. If you going like just TikTok and biracial people start talking about their experience, they're invalidated with everybody goes through that, or
Yep.
that's not what it is, or that's not what's
Yep.
happening.
Yep.
And
All the time.
you know, they'll say like that's not racism, that's bullying. But if you're
Uh,
bullying somebody because they're half white, that is racism.
that's yep. We're
Because
invalidated.
yeah,
All the time.
there's a lot of invalidation, a lot of it.
Exactly, and it's easy to see how that could turn to self hate because it's like, oh, okay, maybe there's something wrong with me. It's not nobody. It's just me. So how do that's what I did. I was like, how do I fix myself so I don't have the experiences? It's easy to see how that could turn to self hate. You know what I'm saying? Is if you're always being invalidated because it's like there's something wrong with me. So
Yeah, because
yeah.
it's like you're saying how you feel, and people are invalidating. So you're
Hmm.
like, well,
It's like
maybe
it's
that's
me.
not. Yeah, then you start thinking it's you. Yeah, so you start hating
I get
yourself,
there. Yeah, because
and
100% been there where it's like you're always trying to fix and improve and change yourself, and I'm always was like hella like self help. Like, how do I change myself? How do I change myself? How do I fix myself? So I don't have to deal with this type of disrespect or deal with this any type of thing. And then I stopped giving a fuck. I'm like, no, I ain't gonna stand nobody disrespect me because ain't nothing wrong with me. I had to get to that point, but that took a long time because I was always thinking something wrong with me, and it did make me hate how I am. It did make me hate myself, always getting invalidated and nobody really giving a fuck about my experiences, always dismissing and always so it
yeah,
definitely leads to self-hate, 100%.
and
But
when people say
mhm.
like, why do you need these biracial spaces, safe spaces, or whatever? This is why, because you, what other people are going to invalidate us. The only people that's not going to validate us is the people that's experiencing the same exact feeling. Because then people be like, yeah, I go through that. They understand. Versus somebody
Mhm.
that's just sitting there telling you, no, nah, that's not what it is. So you can't really express yourself. Like,
Mhm.
I'm gonna give an example. If I go through something, you go through it too. You can
Mhm.
validate it in a positive light. Like, yeah, I go through that too, and you're not alone.
Exactly. It's not all in your head. It's not all just, oh, there's something wrong
Right.
with
So it
this.
won't turn into self-loathing. Then you'll know, like, it's not me, it's them. They are the problem. And biracial people need to see that it's not you. they're the problem. Like they're the problem. They have a problem with
People
your
who are
identity.
disrespecting you, or
They have a problem
exactly.
with our existence. They don't want us to claim we're biracial.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want us to form communities. They don't want us to have spaces. Everything is everything we do is invalidated. Anything surrounding us is invalidated. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that number one is
Exactly.
accurate.
Exactly. So we all know perfectionism, trying to feel like you have to be on point in order to feel like you're accepted. And it's like, oh, we accept you, but it's like any little wrong thing you do, all of a sudden, oh, you can't, you're not welcome here no more. You know what I'm saying? So I did feel
Right.
that pressure.
You got to be perfect. Like you're. They tell us we're black, right? For example, if I say anything what to do with black people right now, oh, you're attacking them. You always got smoke. You always got energy for black people, but you're telling me I'm black, right? So if I'm sitting here speaking on blacks, like what I go through with black people, you're telling me that, oh, go take it with white people. But why would I do that if you're telling me I'm black?
Mm-hmm.
So
Exactly. That don't make no
perfectionism
sense.
is that's us trying to be perfect for black people. Like we're always walking on eggshells. We're always trying to watch what we say because we don't want them
Mm-hmm.
to get upset and take away
Oh, I
our
don't want nobody.
blackness.
Yeah, and then we
Right,
have to
because if
humble
we make them
ourselves.
upset, then they're gonna be like, "You're not black." So we're always
Yeah.
trying to be perfect, so we're not
Oh
told
my
that we're not
God.
black. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. And then
So
it's like, yeah, 100%. And
we're
then we're
always
always trying
trying
to
to be
humble
perfect.
ourselves because the stereotype is, oh, you think you better than you think. So it's like any little thing we do,
Yeah.
we
So
want to
we're
make sure.
always striving
Yeah.
for that perfectionism as black, as
Mm-hmm.
being black, and
Mm-hmm.
what that is for them, what they want it to be, where they want us to be in our place. Like you know how like they'll be like, "Sit down, shut up, and listen," and
Mm-hmm.
we hear what they say, and then we try to live up to their standard. And it's
Mm-hmm.
like it's a standard they created. It's not something we created, and that's the thing. They tell us we're black, but we can't create our own standards. Like we have to abide by what
Exactly.
they think, and then they'll use things like colorism and rooted in white supremacy and reasons why it has to be that way. And those reasons why it has to be that way doesn't acknowledge us. It doesn't give us a place where we fit. You know what I'm saying? It's
Nope.
just us being quiet and us trying to be perfect for you and watch what we say,
Mm-hmm.
walking on eggshells. We're just trying to live
Mm-hmm.
up to this perfectionism, and then, like this thing says, that causes what? Self-loathing. You start hating yourself. You
You
start,
start hating yourself.
I'm not biracial. I'm black. It's just
You can't be
that's
yourself.
self-hate.
You
The
can't just be
whole
yourself.
thing, right? The whole reason why we identify as black is because we hate being half white. We hate
Biracial.
being biracial. We just hate who we are. You know what I'm saying? We want to
Mm-hmm.
be one thing, and that's basically what that is.
Facts. Exactly. Exactly. And then like, we are known people pleasers for sure. And that causes a
And I know where that starts from. It comes from people putting from the when we start realizing our identity at a very young age. What do they say? Oh, they try to make it great. You know what I'm saying? They try to make it seem like it's this beautiful thing, like you're the bridge between both worlds, and
oh,
you're
yeah, and no
this and this. They
color.
put a responsibility on us. They put a
Mm-hmm.
huge responsibility on us, and we want to be people pleasers. We want to, when they put that responsibility on us, that we're the bridge between both worlds, and you got the best of both worlds. When we're around white people, we want to please them, make them comfortable around black people. We want them to see black people as acceptable. We want to be. That's why we try to represent black people. We try to
We
come in
try to
like,
never.
yeah,
Yep.
and we're trying to please white people, and then when we're around black people, we're trying to please them. That no, we're not on white people's side. We're on your side, and we're doing all this people pleasing from not just one side. Both we're everybody knows like how harmful people pleasing can be because you can't please
Yeah,
everybody.
you lose
Like just
yourself.
imagine living in the world trying to
Mm-hmm.
please everybody, and that's what we do
That's
racially.
what we.
It's not even just us trying to please people individually. It's racially. Like we're trying to racially please white people. We're trying to racially please black people so we could fit in, so they could accept us.
Exactly. And you know what happened? People pleasing makes you lose yourself because you don't have no
Exactly.
boundaries.
And we
You don't
have
have no.
lost ourselves. We don't identify as biracial.
Exactly. We don't have no sense of self, and we don't have no sense of boundaries, like how to set boundaries. Like when people are like that one girl, like she was just letting herself be totally run over, because she didn't have no boundaries and she didn't have no sense of like no, this is not okay to treat me like this. Like, you know, we don't have that because we're too busy people pleasing people. And you know, for being biracial. So that's a lot of shame. If we say we're biracial, no, you must be anti-black, you must hate yourself. And yeah, that happens a lot. And then modeling, that's when you try to mold yourself to different environments and different groups of people so you can fit in. That makes you feel like you're not you being yourself is not enough, right?
But
So
let's talk
that's
about trauma. I mean, trauma. Man, I don't even
trauma
know
is
where
a
to
good
start
one.
with trauma. Trauma. What's the definition of trauma? That's like from your past experience, right? And you're like you have it hurt from it,
Yeah, you haven't processed it. Like
right?
stuff you
So like
can't.
all the trauma, like we during our biracial development as a young age and trying to figure out who we are, and then by the time you're an adult, like you're either saying you're white or you're black, or nowadays maybe you're able to say you're biracial, but you still carry that trauma from like you still have those memories. Like no matter if you're 30, 40, 50, because there's 50-year-olds,
Mm.
here saying how they had it bad in the 80s and stuff like that. So it's
Ooh,
like that trauma carries with us to our death till we're dead and gone. You know what I'm saying? So it's like
mhm.
trauma is ingrained in it's all because people are trying to make us fit in places we don't fit. So we're just carrying trauma.
So deeply
But
trauma definition is a deeply distressing and disturbing experience,
right.
which is freaking our lives, basically. You know what I'm
Yeah, our whole
saying? But
life. Our whole life.
it's
And
very distressing. It's so distressing trying to figure out where you fit in, having being it is distressing.
yeah, all this causes self hate. Like all this and it's sad. Like but we're gonna
Like
go over
today,
this, you know.
yeah, today, like biracial, like, well, you shouldn't make race mix because I don't, want to go through this and all that self hate. They don't even want people like us to exist because of their trauma and their experiences, and it's really sad. But yeah, let's talk about environment.
Shame.
We're raised up in monoracial.
Let's do shame first and then we'll go
Okay, okay,
modeling.
go
Cause
ahead.
like shame, we
Yeah.
didn't talk about like how like of course we get shamed when we get shamed for saying we're biracial because you just said it like they'll be like, oh, you're anti black. You're this and that,
Mm,
right? If you say you're biracial, you're anti-black, or just us speaking on this right now. Oh, you don't like, you got smoke for your black side. You don't like your black side, and it's not
mm,
that. It's just us trying to tell you the problem so we can fix it. You know what I'm saying? It's not like it's
exactly. They
not
don't
that
want
we
to fix
hate, right? So we get shamed for that, and then that's the right. I guess at least to self-loathing because you're being shamed
something.
and you're just thinking, well, damn, I can't talk about that, so I'm gonna just hate myself and be black. I can't talk about my biracial experience. So I guess that I'm not biracial. I'm black. You know what I'm saying? We're just shamed into being black. And I don't even think how that would be pro-black because you're forcing us to be black. You know what I'm saying? Being proud to be black, the word proud, like you have to want it. You know what I'm saying? You can't be black and proud if you were forced, if you were shamed into being black. You know what I'm saying? You can't. That's not pride. That's
Mm-hmm.
you being a people pleaser because deep down at the end of the day you still know you're biracial
Right.
and but you're gonna hate it, so
You have to forget
you're
about
gonna be a
that. You have to
self-loathing
program
biracial person. So
that.
most pro-black biracial people are self-loathing, so
Mm-hmm.
that just and that and then that
Naturally.
leads into modeling, right? Like you want to talk
Mm-hmm.
about that, like we try to model black behaviors, we try to like the stereotypical black behaviors, like whenever like that biracial girl when she started getting attacked, she started putting on like more of a ghetto persona to
Mm-hmm.
model like see,
Mm-hmm.
I'm hood
It's like
too, I'm
saying,
black
oh
too,
my God,
I'm black,
yeah,
I'm still
yeah,
one of like it's like we try to model the behaviors, and you see that a lot with
mm-hmm.
biracial people, like they love ratchetness and ghetto-ness because they know that like people try to say there's no way to act black, but come on, we all know there's stereotypes that we all know that being ghetto and ratchet is associated with what? It's not associated with whiteness. It's
Mm-hmm.
associated with blackness. So the only
Mm-hmm.
thing biracial people know is I gotta be ghetto, I gotta be ratchet because that makes me associated with the community I'm trying to fit in with. So we try to
Mm-hmm.
model these behaviors, and
Right.
it's not doing us no good. Modeling those behaviors don't even do black people good. So you tell me,
No,
how is it gonna do biracial people any good?
exactly. 100%. I agree with you. I agree. And it's like that goes into environment. Like, what type of environment you're raised about,
We don't
what type
have an
of
environment, so that's
you
why
don't
we're
really
self-loathing. You know what I'm saying? This is all making so much sense. We don't
have.
like that's why we say we want to create communities and spaces so we can have that biracial environment so we can't be self-loathing. You know what I'm saying? So if you're in a white environment, you're gonna hate yourself because you're not white. If you're in a black environment, you're gonna hate yourself because you're not black. You're not fitting in.
Mhm.
You're not, even though they accept you, you're still gonna be self-loathing because they accepted you. Now you're black, but that means that now you can't be biracial. You can't
Mhm.
love yourself for being biracial. You can't be sit up there and be like, I'm black, but I love being half white too. That would not make sense.
Mhm.
It doesn't if you're in a white space, if you're around white people and you're just like, I'm pro black, they're gonna be like, what? You know what I'm saying? So
Exactly.
there's either if you're identifying as white and if you're identifying as black for that specific environment, you're gonna be
Mhm.
self-loathing because you're gonna hate the fact that you're your other mix or you're biracial. So
Yep.
again, having our own community and space, and you don't even have to like we could have community through. It doesn't even have to be like, oh, I'm gonna go live over here with all these biracial people. Just simply being able to have culture, just be able to get online or see yourself through representation through the media. You know what I'm saying? There's
Mhm.
other ways that you could create your environment. You know what I'm saying? You could
And
watch
people
something.
who are proudly biracial, we don't see that because everyone's like, oh,
Right.
biracial people are pushed through the media, they're pushed through the media, but it's like, but they're not proudly biracial people. Like, they're not.
Yeah.
Like, it's something that
Even
we would like to see people who are biracial and like proud about it instead of trying to like, oh, I only identify like that. We want to see that. Like, that would be
right.
good representation to see proudly biracial people in the media more versus them
Exactly. And they
having
don't
to
even
hide it. Mm-hmm.
even in white environments or black demographics like areas, like even in their environment they can make a space for biracial people by accepting them as biracial, just like not invalidating that you're not biracial. Like, let them know they're biracial. Like, let them embrace that in your environment so they can, you'll have a better relationship with them because you're like letting them be themselves. Like, let them be biracial.
Yeah,
Let
make
them
your
embrace
yourself.
being their
You
own
hold
identity. If
space.
they say their own race, let them be that in your environment, and you'll get along with them. It's just how, like, when white people and black people get along, they don't be like, oh, you're not white anymore or you're not black anymore. No, they get along by, yo, you're white, I'm black, but we're still cool. You know what I'm saying? You're still accepting them
Exactly.
for, so it's like
Mm-hmm.
you could still,
100%.
we could be
They just
in.
respect what you are. They respect our identity is not respected. That's the issue. That's the
Yeah,
fucking issue that we always have to feel like we have to pick a side or act like this or act like this because being who we are is not accepted. It's not socially normal to just be a biracial person. So, I agree with you. I totally agree with you on that. So, what's the last one? Depression. Oh yeah, depression is a oof. Whew, because you know what
the
leads to
ch-
depression.
and they
You know
and
what?
they know about this. There's a historical like thing about us being depressed, like the tragic mulatto. There's like historically like suicides, the biracial people being depressed. Like, I don't think white people and black people understand this because they're not living life as like something they're not. Like, while a white person isn't going in society and people are saying you're not white, you're black. You know what I'm saying? You're not Black people are not going in society and people telling them you're not black, you're white. Like, that's not happening to
Mhm.
them. So they don't understand it. Like, they don't understand
No,
it.
and it's
It's
lonely.
psychological. When you
It
psychologically
is
fuck somebody up, they're gonna be depressed.
fuck yeah, because it's lonely too. Because like I said, we're such a small minority that growing up, you don't really see too many about like here and there a little bit, but it's like you don't really see too many about, and it feels lonely because you could definitely connect with anybody as a human being, and that's a great thing. But at the same time, like no one's gonna fully understand your experience. Like
Good
that's
point.
just
Good. Like, we feel like we're the only biracial person. Like,
and it's
even
lonely. That leads to depression. Like I've been depressed
yeah,
over that. Like feeling like,
there.
damn.
That's a good point. That man, he was like what 50, and he brought that up. He was like, he's biracial, but he feels he's black. He even said he feels black. Like, he's been around black people his whole life, but he also said he felt lonely as a biracial person. So he kind of
Mhm.
contradicted himself. Like, he said he felt black, but I think that was to escape. the depression. You know what I'm saying? It's like you feel like you're the only biracial person, and you get depressed, so you try to escape it and be black, and that goes back and that leads to self hate. It causes because now you got to hate yourself, and it's a real, like, this identity thing is a real problem, and people are not, like, they're not aware of it. They're not like sympathizing with it. I don't even know like how it's just so ignored. Like, how did we even get to this point where the world is only black and white? Like, there's no gray area of race.
Yes. I was just talking about that on the live. It's like, I only see the world as black or white. And it's like that's the whole outdated way of looking at things, because it's not inclusive to us at all. We don't fit into that black world. Like, we don't whatsoever. And it's freaking depressing. It really is. It is. And then that leads to the main thing, the
Everything we
understanding.
just said, the lack of understanding.
The
And
lack
it's
of
not
understanding.
just
That would hit hard too.
nobody understands, right? And then, like, biracial people don't even understand themselves because there's no, like, us saying this would help biracial people to understand what they're going through, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we don't have that. So we don't have people like me and you, like, on a wide range that's helping biracial people. Like, there's no me and you doing this, so we don't understand ourselves and what we're going through. So self-loathing, now that we're talking about this, we can have an understanding and we could stop self-loathing. But there's some more stuff I want to talk about, like, not just the cause, but like, the
Oh yeah,
results, like
let's
things that
move
we,
to the
like, the
okay. The next
results of
point,
this.
the next point you want to talk about is like the self-loathing that leads to why some biracial people, they don't
Self-hate.
want a community, feeling like we don't deserve a community or an identity. And so I wanted to bring up something about that. I'm gonna remove that, and then I'm gonna share. Oh, hold on. I'm gonna share my screen and share screen. I'm gonna talk about this one because okay, you see that the Maslow hierarchy of needs, right? So the first needs, we got physiological needs. We need air, food, shelter, sleeping, clothing, reproduction. Safety needs, safety, employment, resources, health. The third one is love and belonging. Friendships, intimacy, family, a sense of connection, and community is right there. So that is literally a human need that self-loathing biracial people are literally denying themselves, which is crazy, right? So they could actually have like a healthy sense of self-esteem where they respect themselves. They have, you need that sense of belonging first, and then the healthy sense of self-esteem comes in, right? Like the status, the recognition, strength, freedom, and then you get self-actualization at the top, where it's like desire to become the most that one can be. So you need, like, this need is not, when I say, so many people don't understand when I say that. When I say like
Right.
our
So
needs are not met, we don't have this sense of community and a sense of belonging and a sense of like intimacy and friendship is not being met. I talk to so many biracial people. So many of us feel like we've been forced to be like recluses because it's so hard. We struggle with that sense of intimacy and like the sense of connection with people. It's just something we struggle with. A lot of us do. Maybe some of us, not all of us, probably, but a lot of us do. So,
yeah,
what do you think about that? Like the
man, I could do a whole conversation about this. So just, like, I'm trying to see where to start with this. Like, you can hear me, right?
yeah, I can hear you.
All right. I'll be feeling like people can hear me. All right. So, like, the self hate, and first of all, self-loathing biracial people, what they do, because I'm not self-loathing, I have embraced my full identity. So, like, but I was a self-loathing biracial. I
Me
did.
too. I was one too.
We all were, because this is new. This is new to us to embrace ourselves. So, to
Yep.
be whole, I'm gonna just give an example, okay? So, like, let's say, like, I know I have a white parent. I know I have my conscious awareness. I know I have these things, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I tell myself, but I am just black. Right there, I have
Yeah,
already
yeah. You're lying to
not
yourself.
accepted myself. Yeah, I have already not accepted myself as who I am. So to live life as not accepting yourself fully is this whole thing. Like, that's how you become self-loathing. But when you start to accept your, like, to be the whole you have to admit that you're both black and white. First of all, if that's what you are, you have to admit that in order to be your whole self, because your whole self is black and white. So to just say you're only black, you're not living your whole self. You're just living a part of yourself that and you're choosing to ignore the other part of yourself. And
Mm-hmm.
to do that is self-hate. So to
Mm-hmm.
embrace all of your identity, you just have to be the whole thing. And that's the only way to be whole, is to, I'm biracial, I'm black and white. There's no term for it. Like, hopefully eventually there's a term for that, but for now, like, just knowing that is okay. Like, you just know I'm black and white, I'm biracial, you know what I'm saying? There's no label for it, and that's cool, but just you knowing yourself, you have to have that conversation with yourself and become that. But the
Mm-hmm.
self-loathing biracial people, they have not got there yet. So they're like, we don't need this identity, or whatever the case
We
may
don't need
be. Like, I'm black,
it's not
that's
need
self-loathing. We don't need it. What
it
do
is
I like? We'll get online. They'll be like, what do we need a community for? What do you need a community for? What do you need this for? And that's the problem, is that they're saying that from a self-loathing point of view, because what do you mean? What do we need it for? Do you not see all these like, what about them? It's the fact that you don't even care about other
no
biracial people and their needs. Like, they
they
need
don't
a
care.
community. Like, they need to come together. It's not about just you as an individual. Like, other
Mm-hmm.
biracial people need this. You know what I'm saying? We need
Exactly.
this. We're literally fighting for it. We're sitting here in your face telling you, and you're just like, we don't really need this. No, you don't need it. Other people need it, and you should be okay with that, because you should really understand as a biracial person where they're coming from in the first place. Like, how do you not understand where they're coming from? And then a lot of times they'd be like, I do understand. Okay, if you understand, what are you saying we don't need it for?
Exactly. Because
So
it's really
that's
hard to feel like you don't belong anywhere. Like that feeling like you don't fit in or belong anywhere, it does lead to depression. So it's like we need some space to feel like, oh, I could fit in, I could belong here. Because people are like,
right.
oh, people just so dismissive of that. They're like, oh, that doesn't matter. We're all grown now. And like, but it's like it's look, it's literally love and belonging is the third. It's a very important need that we have. We need
Yeah,
that as human beings.
you gotta love other biracial people in order to love yourself, because
Hmm.
I mean, you gotta love yourself in order to love other biracial people. If you don't love yourself as biracial, when you see a biracial person, you're
You're
gonna
gonna hate
yeah,
them.
you're not going to want a community, because you have already hated yourself, and they're just going to remind you
You
that you're
biracial.
biracial. You know what I'm saying? You're
Hmm.
gonna see another. If you're like solo, like, I'm just black, when you see another biracial person and you don't want a community, that means you're not going to want to associate with them. You're not going to want to be a part of them, because you associating and connecting them will build a community. It will make you biracial. And
Hmm.
the fact that, you know what I'm saying, it just comes down to, you hate other biracial people, you hate yourself. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
We're all black. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I used to do that when I was younger. I'll see another biracial person and I'll try to get away from them. Like, go over there, go try to fit in with the black people. I'm already accepted. Don't come near
Hmm.
me, type shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't, they're gonna
Yeah.
catch us together, and we're gonna be biracial. So
Right.
it's like,
Right. Hmm.
that's just a real thing. Like, that is a real thing. And there's a lot of biracial people who can relate with that. I know they can. Like, you
Hmm.
probably could relate that. Have you ever got around like another biracial person and was like scared y'all were gonna get caught together by
Like,
black people? Like, oh shit, they're forming. Like, some
yeah,
like
'cause
some shit like.
I'd seen that in the when I went to school. I think there was a group of biracial girls, and they're like, oh, they think they Kim Kardashian or something. Like, I remember seeing that. Like, I remember, like, I always will remember that it's like, oh, they think they better or something. That they like
Exactly. And
we can
biracial
get
people who
better.
feel like they've been more accepted by black people, they're gonna stay away from biracial people. Like, they're gonna think they're gonna lose their blackness. You know what I'm saying? Like, get away from me. You need to find your way to fit in. I'm already good. I'm already accepted. So biracial people got a
Hmm.
lot of. We're really like messed up psychologically. We're really messed
We
up,
really
like
are. We
bad.
really are. Yep. So that goes to our third point, right? The majority of us don't love biracial people because we don't. Yeah, you already touched on that a little bit, but yeah, that's fucked up. Ugh. Okay, so let's go to our fourth point. When black people do bad things to us, we think it's okay because we believe that we've had. Oh yeah, so we think that it's okay to be mistreated because black people had it worse than us, so we shouldn't have any right to complain about it, right?
Yeah, like, whenever we experience something bad. Not everything's bad, of course, but like
Not
we're
everything,
just
no.
talking about the problem. Like when you experience something bad within the black community, you think like it's okay that it's happening to you because black people have had it worse. You excuse their behavior, you excuse what they're doing because they've had it worse. Like, oh, they've had it worse, so it's what I'm going through is nothing. It's minor. It doesn't matter. And that's self-loathing. Like you don't deserve to be heard. You feel like you don't deserve to be heard. You don't feel like you deserve to be treated good. Like you believe I already got privilege. I'm good, and I don't deserve to be heard. I don't. You don't deserve to be helped. Like we really feel like that because we're taught that black people had it worse. And that's all self-loathing. That's a feeling of self-loathing that you feel like you don't deserve anything, and that's bad. Like to walk. What if something's really going on with you and you feel like you don't need help? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That's bad. Just imagine like if somebody was depressed
Bad.
about something, and that's how people end up killing themselves. Like
People
they
have
become
worse.
suicidal.
That never, you know what? That has never helped me ever in my life to be like, because I've heard that too. All of it. Oh, people have it worse than you. But when you're depressed and sad, does that make you feel better? That makes you feel even worse. That people have it worse than you. So that makes you feel even worse. Like it's
Yeah,
just it
that's
doesn't
how you
help
lead to
you.
suicide because nobody's hearing you. The problem's not being solved, so you're just like, fuck it.
Yeah. We have a very high rate of suicide too. I'm gonna bring up that study. Let's see here. That's what self-hate ultimately can lead to suicide. So I'm gonna bring up that. Biracials high rate of suicide. It's real. Like it's just life or death. Really, really. Look. Let me see.
Another
Undertaking.
thing that biracial people do that's self-loathing.
Look at this. Okay, I want to show you something. I want to show you this real quick. Let me stop sharing, and then I'm going to show you. Guess who had a really high rate? Let me see. Mixed race study and suicide risk. Look, females in mixed race ethnic groups had the highest rate of suicide since 2012 and 2014. In females, the highest rate of suicide has been mixed race ethnic group. The rate of this group has statistically higher than the rate in the white group in 5 to 6 periods of study. All except 2012, 2014. In 2017 and 2019, there are 7.1 deaths per 100,000 females in mixed race ethnic groups compared to 4.9. So, yeah.
But
So this,
like when racist people see this, whether they're white people or black people that
yeah,
don't like
they
biracial
weaponize it.
people,
They
they
weaponize
like
it.
this shit. They
Yeah.
like it. It's like,
They're
yeah,
like,
they're
oh,
getting
that's
rid
why
of
you shouldn't
themselves.
exist.
They
That's why
don't
you
want us
shouldn't.
to exist in the first place. So this won't bother them whatsoever.
Exactly. No, that's how I learned about this through racist people. They were like, "Oh, you should check the suicide rates of mixed race
Oh yeah,
people."
they were joking about it and you
People
learned
were
about it.
joking about
So
it, saying like, so I checked this. I'm like, damn, they're fucking right. But of course, I'm gonna take that and be like, that's the reason why I should care even more about this population because nobody knows about that. I didn't know. I had to learn from racist people trying to weaponize the fact that that you guys commit suicide so much you shouldn't exist. So I didn't even know, why aren't psychologists talking about this? Why aren't people, if we have a high rate of suicide, why isn't people like making noise about it? Like nobody is. Why did I have to learn from a racist about this?
they don't care.
Like it's crazy to me. And
We
it's
got
like
to start caring. Nobody's gonna care about it. We can't
nobody's
wait.
gonna care about
We
this.
got to care about ourselves. Like it's
This
just
was
like it's
in
no difference when like a homeless person. Yeah, people
this
might
was
come give
in
them a
this
sandwich
was
and help.
this
At the end of the day, you gotta pull yourself up. You gotta work. You
this
gotta put in the work
was
yourself.
100%. And this was in England and Wales. God knows the rate of America. I don't think they have a study on it in America. We don't know, but they have it like, it's not saying that, I don't know if mixed race people have it better, but their identity is more respected from what I know in the UK. So I don't know what's causing this. Like they're not saying what's causing it, but they're just, oh, I don't know. It's really
The
sad.
UK is no different. Even though they acknowledge mixed race, they still don't have representation. They still don't have a census. Like politically, they're still black. So that's the.
No,
It just comes
they
down
have
to
a
politics.
census.
I
No,
mean,
they
they have a
have it
census,
on
but
YouTube, but they have it.
it's not socially census. You know what I'm saying? Like they're not. It's on paper, yeah, but like overall, they're treated just like black people. You know, it's that's what white people do. They'll treat mixed people like black people, so they'll feel black, so they won't identify as mixed. You gotta understand, the one
Mhm.
drop rule was created by them. They want
Right.
mixed people to say they're black too. You know,
Yeah.
like that guy Greg when he got on and he was like, "What are you trying to segregate for?" Like he wants they like white people at the end of the day they still believe they how do I say it, like when it comes down to politics, do you think a white person rather politic with mixed people or black people? They rather politic with black people. They don't want to politic with mixed people because we got too much leverage. We got a foot in the door with them. You know what
Hmm.
I'm saying? We because what do white people fear? They don't fear black people. They fear other white people, right?
Hmm.
They're like Democrats and Republicans. They're beef. White people feel other white people. They don't fear black people. So when somebody's half white, you know that gives them a fear. So they just rather, you know, you're all black, identify, so we know who you are. Especially like the history behind it. White passing biracials who, you know, got around them, learned information that black people would have never learned, and you know, brought it
Right.
back to their black side. So we're too much of a risk for their social systemic power. You know what I'm saying? So they rather just keep us in that lane of not mix. You know,
Hmm.
it's just like with Hispanics and other mixed groups. I'm saying like I know they're not a race, but for the majority of their people they're mixed, right? That's why they're less accepted than black people.
Hmm.
Like they're illegals, they're
People
immigrants,
don't. People.
they're not even wanted here. Like they allow black
Hmm.
people to be here and have culture and political. Like America's culture is pretty much mostly black. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? So they push out Latinos in it because they're mixed. They're mixed. White people really have more of a problem with mixed people than they do black people at the end of the day. People don't want
Yep.
to believe that. It like I mean, there's no evidence or anything to back it up, but you could see it. I mean, you could find evidence. You could find evidence. Like there's nobody really looking for that. Like for this though. Like you just got to really do the research, and you'll find the evidence. But socially, you could see it because like look at all the laws. They don't want they like Mexicans. Like everything is against like basically groups that have a historical context of being mixed.
Hmm.
Like
Yep.
the Americans, a lot of them were mixed.
Hmm.
They had brown skin and straight hair. That comes from being mixed.
Hmm. They mixed
So
with they actually understood the benefits of like mixing, so they would like go to different tribes and marry in different tribes, and so that was a practice. That was something they definitely practiced, like Native Americans. They knew the benefits of it, so that's something they definitely practiced. But okay, let's talk about image issues, like our image issues. If it's like, okay, let me wanting to tan, to be
oh
dark
yeah, yeah,
skinned,
yeah.
have black kids so they're not light skinned. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about your experience with that.
Um, I I had when I was younger, I used to want to be darker because you know, like where I was at, I don't know how like they like where I'm from. Like I was on the west. This is when I was on the west coast. Like when you're on the west coast, I feel like the beauty standard isn't white. Like people hate white people. Where I grew up, they didn't like white people. So if you were close
Mm-hmm.
to white, you're not gonna fit in. So I used to want to get darker to fit in. Like to where we were from, black was beautiful. You know, black is beautiful was a movement. So that movement did empower them to the point that it made other people who were not, you know, darker, like it just flipped it. But that's wrong. You know what I'm saying? It's like you, yeah, it was happening to you, but now it's happening to other people. So where's the equality? Because like what happened to you is not happening to other people where they don't want to be light. They want to be darker now. Like it went from you bleaching your skin and you wanting to be white to now people want to be dark. And like that's not okay. Like where do we get to the point where people are not bleaching, like people don't want to be white, people don't want to be black. They want to be themselves. Like where do we get to that point?
Yeah, because it's like a pendulum swing all the time, and it's like people just have a hard time accepting themselves
And
in
so
general.
like
Like they
for darker people like who feel like they should understand the context of wanting to tan to get darker because they've had that problem where they wanted to bleach their skin. It's the same problem, but just in reverse. Like wanting to bleach your skin to be lighter versus tanning to get darker because you don't want to be light. Like it's the same thing. You're like people are experiencing the same problem, but just in a different color. You know what I'm saying? Like in a different like way. Like you want to be darker, they want to be lighter. So it's the same problem. So how do we get to the point where people just want to be themselves and you don't have to hate other people because they're not your skin color or you know what I'm saying? Like
Yes,
and
100%.
and
And it's
and,
like,
and not just that, like I used to want to
mhm,
get with a black woman because I wanted my kids to be darker. Like I wanted to get with a black. I used to have these feelings when I was younger. Like I used to want to when I was like, if I had kids, it's got to be a black woman because then my kids will come out too light. Like that's self hate. I'm light. Why would I not want my kids to be light? Like that all comes from self. Like I hated myself the way I look.
mhm,
Like I wasn't dark, so I didn't want my kids to go through that. I didn't want them to experience, what I experienced of being light skinned. So
mhm.
it wasn't all bad though. It was good. It was good too. So that's where the hard part is. Like it's not all bad. Like it was good too. But you still don't you still know there's a problem there, and I still see it within other people. And it's just like I think the problem should be fixed. Like even though I'm healed and I'm good, like I don't have them problems anymore. I see younger
Mhm.
generations. I see people doing it. I see like I got a
Yeah.
cousin. She's mixed, and she was like she was like, and she's darker than me, and she's like, I want to go to the beach and get darker. Like she's like, I don't
Mhm.
like my skin tone, and I'm just like, that's crazy. Like I used to be like that, so I see like the problem is still there. Like even if I'm healed, I see other people going through it, and it's sad. So yeah,
I
I
just
think it
hate
needs to be
that we
talked about.
all 100%. And it's like I just hate that it's always like we have to uplift this. We have to put down somebody else to uplift ourselves. That's the mindset that needs to stop. You don't have to put down anybody else in order to uplift yourself. Period. Okay? Like that has to stop with us. And you could up and people assuming, you know how people assume when we are uplifting ourselves, we're putting somebody else down. Like, oh, that's colorist if you say you like your skin, or that's colorist if you say this or that, when it comes to like trying to uplift ourselves. So, but it's like we're not putting nobody else down. It shouldn't matter, right? It should not
Yeah,
matter.
and
Doing
a lot of things that could fix that is representation. Like our last, what's the last thing we talked about? Like feeling inferior. Like black is better, and I think that comes from um not having like when you're younger, not having role models that are biracial that have accomplished things where you could feel great, like influences, role models, people you can look up to.
right.
Like you should be your own role model. You shouldn't look to nobody yet. Like when you get older, but let's be realistic. When you're young and you're trying to learn the world, you're gonna look up to people, and there's no like accomplishments that are made like that's targeted to your group, your people. You're not gonna be confident. You're gonna have inferior complex because everybody like you're told you're black, you're told you're to fit in, like all these black people are accomplishing things, and it's just like you want to meet their standard and you're not going to meet it because you're not full black at the end of the day. Like you're not, and whatever, and it's like they keep changing what blackness is. Like it used to be dark skin, now it comes in all colors. Like it just keeps like what black is keeps changing. Once upon a time it was people of color, and what did that mean? That was like anybody, that was the one drop rule, whoever wasn't white. So it's like it keeps changing, and and white stays the same, and that's just, you're just giving white people power because they don't change who they are. You know what I'm saying? They just stay the same. They stand on being white. Black people, they just, it's like their issues over leaks into us being biracial because they had a problem with being black when they were black. Like all their insecurities and internal racism has created new ideas of what black is, and now we all have a problem. You know what I'm saying? Like now mixed people got a problem
Mhm.
because they got a problem. Like if until they know what black is, we'll never know what black is. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
And it,
And they keep,
mhm.
and if they keep changing it, we're gonna keep being confused. Like, damn, are we black or not? Like you keep changing what black is, and they need to like stand on it, like white people did. Like white people have protected, and it's giving them the power and leverage because they could stand on, they gatekeep, and they know what black is. Whereas black people, it's 1 minute we're accepting you, maybe this is not a good idea. You know, it just keeps changing what black is, and that's a problem.
Exactly. 100%. You're preaching. You're preaching today. You're preaching, and I love it. I love it. I love it. We have to really all find a way to be secure in ourselves and not make our insecurity other people. Like we have to. That we all have to do that. 100%. 100%. So let's go to the sixth issue. Oh, that you already spoke on that. Feelings of
Yeah.
inferior. You spoke on that. Okay, cool.
So
So
we know the problem. I think then I just want to talk about like how we're gonna, like, what's
we're
the
gonna change it.
solution? You know what I'm saying? Like, we know the problem. Let's get into the
Okay.
solution.
So the solution, right? It goes back to the hierarchy needs, I think. Like it goes back to self-esteem, but you need that type of like intimacy and friendship and family and sense of connection, that love and belonging. Because if you're in a toxic environment, like I think it boils down to our environment, like you said, having those biracial environments, so you can feel that love and friendship, intimacy, sense of connection, that sense of community, so you can have that sense of respect, self-esteem. Like when you're in an environment that respects you, you're going to develop self-respect too. Because if you're always in an environment that disrespects you, you're that's going to lead to self-hate. But we have to create environments that respect each other, respect our identities. That's going to lead to self-esteem, self that's going to lead to that. So I think that's a good solution. So what you think?
Yeah, hold on real quick. Hello.
Yep, I hear
Yo.
you.
All right. Um, I don't know where to start with this conversation, but
Okay, let me say one more
I
thing
just
real
want to
quick.
say something like,
Go ahead.
so. Oh, this.
Oh, hey. Oh, y'all are cute. Y'all are so cute.
I just want to so people know, like, we both are biracial.
y'all, are, y'all are cute.
She didn't really want to be in the camera, but fuck it.
Yeah.
um, Damn, I don't even know where to start with this shit. I think we gotta change how we see ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
We gotta stop seeing ourselves as one thing. We gotta like stop seeing ourselves as white. We gotta stop seeing ourselves as black. We gotta see ourselves as biracial. Does that make sense?
Yeah. We gotta start really associating being biracial with positive things. Because there's so many narratives and stories about, oh, what it means to be biracial, and people internalize that like it's bad, it's a bad thing or whatever. But we gotta start telling our own stories and start making it like a negative, something to be proud of instead of something to be ashamed of. Right? But that's us like having our own voice and telling our own stories, right?
Yeah. How we talk about ourselves, we gotta
Yeah,
start
how we
like.
talk.
I think the
Hmm.
solution is, yeah, how we talk, how we talk about ourselves. Like, we don't say nothing good about being biracial. Like with the white moms, we talk about how it's like all the bad things. Like we don't, like how we don't want a community. Like I don't know, how we talk about ourselves is a problem. So we need to change the way we talk about ourselves. That's the solution. You hear me?
Yeah, you said we gotta what'd you say?
How we talk about ourselves.
Yep. Yep. And that's right now we talk about ourselves so bad. Like we don't deserve nothing, we don't need anything, we don't. So it's like we got to be selfish. I think we should put ourselves first. Like we deserve this. I think that's what we got to do. We don't owe nobody anything too. We don't owe nobody nothing. Like, no, we don't
Right.
owe you anything. We don't owe you anything. I don't owe nobody anything. But I owe myself, like, to be the best person I can be and to focus on my own community, my own issues. Like, we gotta really like just start being really selfish and not caring what nobody thinks about it. Because we've been so
Right.
selfless for a long time, right? Not having no sense of self whatsoever. So we gotta be the opposite now to kind of balance it out.
And another solution is self love. Like you have to love being biracial. You have to love yourself, accept yourself. Self love, I think, is the most important to healing all this. Because at the end of the day, people could tell you who you are, what you are. Oh, people are gonna see you this way. The police gonna see you this way. None of that should matter if you love yourself. Like, don't let them determine that because it's not coming from a place of love. Like what they're telling us isn't coming from a place of love. Like you
It's
telling
not.
me
And
that I'm
then
not biracial, that's not
100%.
coming from a place of love. Self love, you gotta love yourself. You gotta like that's not coming like telling me you accept me because I'm mixed with black. That's not acceptance. Acceptance would be you accepting me as biracial. Like if I
Mm-hmm.
gotta change my identity in order for you to accept me, that's not real acceptance. Like how do you consider that acceptance?
Right. 100%.
That's like me.
100.
That's like the brown paper bag society at the time. That's like them saying we accept you if you identify as white, but you're black. Like you want to come in here like the brown paper bag test. Like you gotta put on a brown paper bag and then we'll accept you. Like there's like requirements for us to accept you. Like walking like paint your skin light and then we'll accept you. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's like them doing
Yeah,
that.
that's fake acceptance. We got to reject. I think that leads to a lot of self, like fake acceptance leads to self-loathing too. We got to reject fake acceptance. We have to because that's messing us up. Like we need to know what real acceptance is. When you could just be yourself, you don't got to sit here and conform or sit here have all these rules and terms and conditions for the. No, we don't need that. Like you just want a space where you could just be yourself and just talk about whatever you
Well,
want to talk about. Be who you
my
want to
phone
be.
my phone dying. I mean, I gotta go soon, so we're gonna like wrap it up in a little bit. But before we go, like
Okay.
I just want to talk about like the importance of like a biracial identity,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that we really need to attack the one drop rule for our emotional health.
Mm-hmm. 100%.
So, like,
100%.
what
That's
would you
like
say? Why is the biracial identity so important?
because identity is very important because you need to have an identity in order to have a community. Because how do you have a community without people you identify with? There got to be some type of foundation there. So your identity is your foundation. Like that's your foundation of who you are and your sense of self. So it's very important. We have a foundation that's we are and not on what we're not. Because like if we identify as black, we all know the goalpost always changes. So it's going to be pulled from under us whenever at any time. So who wants to build a foundation on something that could just crumble when somebody feels like, oh no, you're not that no more. I decide you're not. We want to have a foundation that we build ourselves, not somebody else's build. That's really not strong. Like we want to have a strong foundation of who we are so we could build, we could be mentally strong, emotionally strong, spiritually strong when we're strong in our identity. So identity is very important and very, very, very important. So and just having it based on truth. So that's why I would say that. Hmm.
All right. Well, see, that's good. I think that's good for this. I think we talked about a lot,
Yeah,
and
I
I
think
think
it's
this is
good.
important. I think
Yep,
this
and
is
we kept
really
it under an
important.
hour,
So,
which is important. I got to start learning how to do that. But yeah, it was a good live. I appreciate it. Appreciate you coming on here. I think we touched on a lot of good things.
yeah,
And you're gonna
I
you're gonna
think
go live later on TikTok about and talk about this, right?
yeah, I'm gonna talk about the same conversation. And if biracial people are listening, I think they should talk about this too. Like what we're talking about. Like more of us need to like if you got any ideas or you relate with this, you need to speak on it. Like this is a huge
Mm-hmm.
topic. Like how black people come together and talk about colorism. Like everybody's on the topic. We need to talk about these self-loathing biracial people. Like we need to do this
Mm-hmm.
together as a team. Like we got to come together as a community and really talk about this. Like to heal the problem, because other people ain't gonna do it for us. So
Yep.
I would like to see more biracial people talking about like self-loathing. Like
Yeah,
it
let's
would
talk
really
about it.
help
Let's make
us
it right.
all as a community. Like
Hundred
staying
percent. Let's
quiet, being scared, like all this
fuck
other
that.
stuff. Like people worry about. Fuck. Like we're not gonna get anywhere living in fear. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm out here. Like people can see me. I don't really care. Like there's nothing to be afraid of. I'll go walk up to anybody in real life and talk about it. Like, I'll come together, we could protest, we could get signs. Like, how do you think people got far? Like, people are not afraid to go out and talk to people or about it. So
Yep. 1,000,000%.
but that's it.
That's
We'll
it.
catch y'all on the next one. What's the next line?
All right. Bye. Bye, y'all.